select, actually. Just kidding. Take it away, folks.
All right, here we go. Let's find out what Liberty end up electing to go with into KaBuM. A little bit tough for them, as we already mentioned, but KaBuM also might give us a little bit of a different experiment. They've already gone with two very different compositions so far, and now they are pulling out the Melio for Redbird once more.
And that's a big point I want to bring up, Dia, because KaBuM, it's a pretty new roster. They made some changes after a disappointing spring, and they're not exactly sure, and I think we as viewers as well, not exactly sure what KaBuM's identity is going to be, who's going to be the big carry of this team. We've seen Flawless and Crastiel both perform very well so far, but in two different styles. Game one, very facilitator. Game two, very much playing for themselves, them being the carries. So, KaBuM, questions that need to be answered. Who's the carry of this team for game three?
Yes, we'll find out soon. It's going to be tough as the Aphelios already picked up. Liberty are reinvesting in Juliera. We are see what gets locked in up against the Cassante, though. I will say, Dari has been really good. Has definitely been a.
Now, what does KaBuM opt to go for? We've already seen Luciamilio and tearing up solo queue. It's been very, very strong. I don't think we've seen it in the CBLOL yet so far, and this is going to be aggressive. So, looking like we're going towards that bot side carry focus for KaBuM. But Liberty on the other side, that all-important Aphelios, Dia, is 2-0 today. Now 7-2 in the CBLOL.
Now, I will say, if we're looking back at CBLOL history as well, from this split alone, Aphelios has suffered some of his only losses up against picks like Lucian. With an Annie now picked up for Crastiel, you do have the opportunity to lay down a lot of pressure onto an AD carry that, as of yet, Hawk, is unprotected. I like Aphelios, I like Cassante, I even like Yuumi, but none of them are keeping Annie off of you.
No, they're definitely not. And we're seeing just the trade of OPs. Aphelios, Yuumi going to get bared down on by Milio. Lucian is a tale of mid-game versus scaling. Lots of OPs being traded back and forth. And now, how do KaBuM and Liberty want to prop this up? For KaBuM, I definitely think it's going to be that early game playmaking. We've seen Jarvan and Maokai so far for Flawless. Those are very much champions that are happy to play for early ganks and look to start fights in the game. And for Liberty, I'm looking at champions that want to create space for their big carry, for Juliera to try to be the guy in the fights.
Where'd that Gragas though? Where does
looking
big
pretty good here,
lad? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind an Avenger Gragas. It's very clear what's happening up at the top side, but it's a flexible champion, and even AC situationally could be rocking this champion. Excellent on the disengage, and it made sure that things like Wukong aren't going to be available for KaBuM as we focus ever more on that jungle.
And the Wukong ban, definitely a good one to remove. It takes away the Vi Wukong Maokai, by far the strongest junglers. Now we go down the tier list towards things like Viego, perhaps, or Lee Sin is playable as well for KaBuM. Jarvan, of course, as I mentioned, has already been played by Flawless so far this split. And, of course, we need top lane counter. And I should mention, the Cassante could go mid for Avenger if Liberty really wanted it to. So there's a lot of flexibility still remaining in these drafts. But Dia, you called out the Gragas. I like that one a lot.
I breathe a sigh of relief as it gets locked in. I was like, Evelyn, no way, we're about to change my understanding of the game League of Legends at this moment. Unfortunately, this isn't another IU game from last split. We're staying in my comfort zone, and seeing the Gragas locked in does start to answer the Liberty question, but it doesn't finish it just yet. And in fact, KaBuM are going to pose yet another problem, saying, all right, well, I see you picked up one disengage. I raise you one more Giga engage.
Yeah, how about more playmaking? I love this from Flawless. If you want to play a facilitating jungle style with a skirmish comp, Nocturne is one of the best champions in the game to do it. Now, we did see some Croc turn last week for Croc, for Loud. It did lose. I gotta be honest, that was not the Nocturne situation. I'm still such a Nocturne truther. I think this champion is very, very strong when used correctly, and you need good engage, good skirmish and good playmaking elsewhere on your team, so Nocturne can sort of be the secondary version of that. Well, when you've got Lucian Milio, Annie, Sion to create space and to really make plays, I think this Nocturne is going to slot him brilliantly against what is currently a one-threat comp for KaBuM.
And
Liberty,
Viego, as you talked about, fall a little bit further down that tier list, but is going to be the last lock-in. Does not answer the Nocturne in any meaningful way. In fact, looking at this Liberty roster, I can't help but feel like, with the Gragas, they pivoted, they tried to get a little bit of disengage, but now they got a full commit to the fight.
It's so scary for Liberty because you're now running with a one-threat comp. I mean, sure, Viego can carry, Gragas, Cassante, they do damage, but it really is all on Juliera's shoulders, and he is the guy that we highlighted. But against Nocturne and Annie and Sion even, becomes a very dangerous prospect, putting so many eggs in an immobile 80 carry basket just like that. Now, the Viego against the Nocturne, you can get the first reset. Nocturne dies very fast in fights a lot of the time. He's usually live fast, die young. So Viego feasts on that style of champion, so that's why I don't hate the pick. And generally, Viego considered pretty strong by the pros. But, I mean, I'm with you, Dia. I think this KaBuM composition, so much playmaking, and we've already seen this team play confidently against some of the best that the league has to offer. Liberty, they have to perform to that level in this game.
And I gotta ask, dude, I mean, we're looking at this, and Liberty do have a tall order to fill, even with the Cassante that we all know is quite powerful, and the Aphelios. There aren't a whole lot of ways, it seems, that they can actually play this game out in a way that suits them best.
Gentlemen, we appear to have forgotten what region we are in. Yes, Liberty only have a one-threat composition, but this is CBLOL Aphelios' one-threat composition, paired up with the most absurd enchanter in the game. That's my pitch for the game. We are ready to head on to Summoner's Rift. It is KaBuM versus Liberty, two teams yet to find a win, searching for their first victory of split number 2. We're about ready to load on to Summoner's Rift, so let's dive on in.
All right, as we jump in, I know that we've talked about what Liberty have to do in terms of compositionally where they need to be strong. We're looking at Juliera for these high levels of execution once we hit the mid and late game. But as we saw in game number 1, a lot of the early game also comes down to jungle pathing, specifically in the Viego versus Nocturne matchup. Hawk, what on earth can you do specifically as AC to help get your team into a reasonable position?
You've got to try to find push in one of your lanes and try to attack Flawless, because one of the weaknesses of the Nocturne is that pre-6, it's not very strong. There's not much playmaking there, and Viego is a very good duelist if you're able to find a good play. The problem is, I don't think Liberty has the best lanes to really play around. Crastiel should have shove in mid, which means that KaBuM, in theory, would be able to support their jungler at any given time. And honestly, I know it's CBLOL and we love crazy as our game here, right? But at the same time, these junglers, not the biggest of playmakers really early on. I think this early game, all about the bottom lane. Raven and Redbert on the Lucian Milio up against Juliera's Aphelios. How big of a lead can they get? Because we've not talked much about Raven, but he was called up from Academy, middle of last split, played 6 games to mixed success, hasn't really looked that great so far in the CBLOL, and KaBuM needs him to step up. We've already highlighted that this is a bot-focused meta, and clearly now 2 games out of 3, KaBuM has picked champions that want to facilitate this player as the carry. So I need to see big things out of Raven, given, in my opinion, a great situation from KaBuM this game.
And he's on Lucian. No better champion to do it into Aphelios, especially if you want to try and shut somebody down in the early game. Now, I'd also posit here that Crastiel is going to be a big part of this, and because of the performance we saw from him when they ran the Jarvan Galio composition, subsequently then going with Jace Maokai, it's Flawless and Crastiel's synergy that have just determined a lot of the way that KaBuM play the game. I wonder if Raven can do that same thing on Lucian.
Yeah, I've so rarely seen a mid-jungle 2v2 come up into a league and look this good without having ever played together before. Crastiel and Flawless have really been excellent, and in the way that they've played around Raven has been good. as well. So I don't think that's the problem for KaBuM. We've asked a lot of questions of other teams, can they play around their carries? INTZ, for example, which the answer obviously was yes earlier today. I think KaBuM is the opposite problem. They play around their carries fairly well, but they don't seem like they have that individual spark that they need to overcome the best in the league. So up against Liberty, I want to see them pick up that confidence win. But for Liberty themselves, of course, if they can weather that storm and they can prop up their own carry, then I think that individual prowess of Juliera could be on full display in a carry.
Sky's the limit for both of these rosters. Once you go down 0-2 at the start of the season, it's only up. That's what you're hoping for
true.
During the course.
You don't want to be hanging
this
out with
game.
Loud, that's for sure.
One of these guys is picking up a win today, and it's just to be determined exactly how that comes about, who's going to come out on top, and what they can be proud of at the end of the day. They've demonstrated to the international audience in the CBLOL. The AC already starting an engagement on the Flawless. Spellshield's going to come up quick, and Flawless is getting the better of this engage. Avenger and Crastiel are rotating over. Quick flash belly bump with Flawless flashing away. Gives the first blood to Liberty, and AC gets the reset on the Viego. Insta spell shield right back. This could be 2 kills early on for Liberty, and it looks that it will be. Crastiel gonna get slowed up on the escape. That's a double kill for AC before the 5-minute mark.
Apparently, whenever I criticize a jungler, they just pop off. First it's Yampy, and now AC picking up 2, and I gotta be honest, I think it's a really big mistake from KaBuM. Raven and Redbird, they had shove in the lane, but they opted to keep laning instead of rotating over to the skirmish. Miscommunication from KaBuM gets punished, and Liberty off to a big-time early lead.
And this is exactly what I was hoping for. Looking at the way that AC played last week, this was a jungler that, as you said, didn't know their role, didn't know exactly where they wanted to be, and where they could play confidently in teamfights. When you're 2-0, if you're lacking confidence, I don't know what to tell you, and that's something that Viego should have all day from here on out.
Yeah, most certainly. And again, Liberty, we wanted to see them attack Flawless and try to get a lead in the jungle matchup because Pre-6 Nocturne, not the strongest. And Dia, they have done exactly that. Full control of the bottom side as well, with Juliera having the Infernum. Means that KaBuM, this early game, falling apart just a bit for them. Now, they're still very much in this game, and I'm still waiting for that level 6 playmaking to come through, but having just any sort of lead for Liberty early on when you are the better scaling comp could be big, and they might even get more.
Ooh, yeah, looks like we're going to get some more. Belly Bump doesn't have a flash this time around, but Crastiel still going to be taken down extraordinarily low. No teleport on Annie. Unlocks AC to do as he likes on the map. Unfortunately for Liberty, Infernal Drake's up.
And I love this. AC not going back to the camps, immediately playing around the priority in the lanes. A really nice low investment gank in mid, going to get Liberty a free objective. And Luciamilio, they're not here to contest. They're not fighting around this first dragon the way they so desperately would have wanted to, Dia.
Instead, you're giving up the first objective of the game. Liberty not only take first blood, but they have really dug their heels in with the small advantage that they procured during the first couple minutes, and that's all through the bot side as well. AC hasn't even visited Kiara yet, who has just been vibing up against the Scion, and well, I'm not expecting that lane to be our focal point. When Kiara gets involved in the team fights, you've got another X factor entering the game for Liberty.
Dia, the CBLOL is just so great to watch sometimes. These teams really know how to push each other no matter where they might sit in the standings and what our expectations may be. Sure, on paper, these are two of the lower tier teams in the league, but I mean, the level of play we're seeing from Liberty so far has been fantastic, and KaBuM struggling to find their way in. 1 minute still until the Rift Herald spawns. That could be an opportunity for KaBuM to make a play. They should have level 6s on critical members at that point. And that would be the moment that I'm looking for KaBuM to find a big play to get themselves back into this one.
To me, Hawk, it's the magic of best of ones. As you said, you know, on paper, these two teams should have had a more difficult time up against each other, right? We had, I mean, reasonably so. 0-2, both of them. But we've also seen them play the game for less than an hour total this split.
That's
And
true,
that means that every time that we come back, that we get to see KaBuM, Liberty, any team in the CBLOL jump onto the Rift again, we could get something totally different this early on into the split. And I love that in the first 2 weeks already, we are getting some of the best performances that we've seen, not just in this split, but even including the past from players league-wide.
Dia, let's remember as well, KaBuM in particular, they pushed Los very hard in the first game of the season. They had a big early game lead, in fact, couldn't quite convert, but I mean, the early game has been great, and they've been going up against some of the league's best. It just goes to show that anyone truly can push each other to the limit, no matter where they may be. It is AC starting up that Rift Herald. He's got priority in the solo lanes. First move from Avenger, so incredibly strong, but Flawless, you know he doesn't want to give this one away for free. He's saying, I'm playing Nocturne, I want to make a play.
And he's got level 6, but Julier on the bot lane goes extraordinarily low. Raven and Redbird won't be moving up to assist on any skirmish that would break out, but nothing happens. KaBuM sit by and watch the Rift Herald go down. Not confident in their ability to contest, and that's while they're losing the bot side. Julier almost goes down while saving his life by popping out on the Yuumi and tanking just a bit of the color.
Yeah, but AC's on his way down here to try to prevent some sort of dive. You know Flawless wants to find it because Juliera is staying. But no, Flawless just going to go back to farming. He can't find his way in, wanted to contest the Herald, did not choose to cross map bot. The Herald went Liberty's way anyway. And I think with AC's cover, Juliera should be just fine here, Dia.
He's just sitting on vision. And everybody knows exactly where AC is, but evidently that is enough. And as you say, Julia gets to live for that classic one more wave. I don't know how many times I've heard you say about this game.
Right, it's just the threat. AC, by standing on vision in the bottom side, KaBuM knows that they can't dive unless they want to get cleaned up by this 2-0 Viego. And now it's really concerning because, sure, KaBuM, they're able to force Juliera out to base, but he didn't miss the wave, was able to stay for that. And that was the cross-map play. Flawless wasn't there for it. Watched the Herald die, didn't get anything in bot. And so it's just a free Herald for KaBuM. This early game, for Liberty rather, this early game going completely in their favor. Dragon spawning in a minute. I would have to think we'll see a trigger pull around this, Dia.
I'm going to be a Hex Tech, so KaBuM might want to try and contest this. Just takes one good position, especially now that Nocturne has passed the level 6 mark. Saw it earlier, wasn't really used around the Rift Herald, and you're going to need an engage on to say a juicy target like Julier, who's about to be on vision over by this ward. Flawless really pulled the trigger on this. There goes the teleport already. Flawless is on top of Juliera. CC to the moon and back. An AD carry goes down, and KaBuM make a big play in bot lane to pick up 2 kills.
That's what I wanted to see. Really nicely done from KaBuM. AC takes a base, and Juliera immediately gets jumped on. Fantastic trigger pull, KaBuM. Definitely back in the game with that one. They should be able to get the Hextech Drake as well.
That was a really great move from Flawless. Recognizing he still had the cooldown, knowing that the Drake was on the line, and it turned into a good bit of pressure for the KaBuM roster. But they're still losing pressure in both the, oh my lord, that's teleport. TP. We're fighting for this. Liberty is in there like swimwear. Let's see. They pick up the dragon. In fact, KaBuM aren't even going to fight for it. The teleport from Kiari was enough.
Wow, yeah, Liberty just forcing them out. KaBuM not having enough information, and Liberty, they see Flawless. They might go for an attack on the Raptors. Wrapping around.
Flawless. Oh, well, he did.
But
that was a lot of CC very quickly.
Yeah, that was body slam flash. No reaction from the spell shield. No flash, neither. And now, Raven. Careful stepping up to this tower, my friend. There are 4 Liberty members in your bottom lane jungle.
My brother AC is 3-0, but Raven takes no prisoner, shoving straight onto Juliera, wins the 1v2, and gets to turn around and take the 2v1 versus AC now. One flash away, but he still gets taken out. Viego claims another life and picks up a second. A double kill for AC. 5-0 on this Viego, and rapidly becoming Liberty's only hope.
Raven may have traded a kill back, but the result is all the same. Liberty gets their due. They're taking plates, and just as we said, KaBuM was back in the game. Liberty smacks him right back down with some nice team play around the Dragon.
It is all AC all the time. 5 kills on this guy, and really nothing else to speak of around the map. Liberty are doing fine. They're doing better in some lanes than others, but Juliera is not having a good time. He is not going to be the mid-game Aphelios, the late-game Aphelios, if anything.
Which is fine, right? Like, he doesn't need to be the mid-game Aphelios because you've got people like Gragas and like AC who's just cleaning up so many kills. Like I said, it was nice of Raven to go forward and trade one out, but by that point, super overextended from the tower, and you're not getting back through a Viego and a Gragas who are just too damn tanky at this time. And you know what? I think I just gotta keep criticizing junglers, Dia, because clearly the caster curse is just unleashing them in this day of games.
It's looked really good so far. AC still got to climb through the entirety of KaBuM. We haven't seen these teams actually fight up against each other. Instead, it's been AC picking these skirmishes throughout the map and maybe looking for another. Lonely gonna hit the reset real quick. 2 minutes to the next Dragon. As we move forward, gonna be a mountain soul this game, and Liberty are already halfway there.
So what I will say, we are getting to the point in the game where KaBuM is going to be strongest, right? One item completed on Raven. They've got the Gale Force. Crastiel almost to the Luden's Echo as well. They're going to have a lot of damage despite being behind. So Liberty does still need to be a little bit careful. But the thing is, they are up 2 dragons, as you so highlighted. They don't really need to feel much pressure to fight if they choose not to. Now, Dio? We are in the CBLOL.
It's
Something
CBLOL.
tells me they will choose to do so. However, worth noting that they have the option to not flip it at any moment if they want to.
Matter of if and when.
Yes.
We've already got Avenger pushing out the bot lane, teleports up. We got a nice flank ward if Liberty want to try and fight with this Rift Herald, and they're in a good position to do so. Crastiel ready with the timbers over the wall, jumps straight onto AC, who instantly has to disengage. Flashed on by Lonely, but in the backside, Raven has been assassinated by Chiari, and it's time for Liberty to roll over this fight. They save AC, they keep Viego alive, and they slay KaBuM.
I think that might just be the fight that seals the game, Dia. It looked like they had a good pick onto the Fed AC, but Yuumi is just too damn good at keeping him alive. And with 3 kills going over the Herald as well, this is going to be 0 objectives claimed for KaBuM this entire early to mid portion of the game. Liberty with the better scaling comp. They're going to knock down a mid tower. They're going to knock down a top tower too, because why the hell not? Herald in pocket. It is all Liberty all day, baby.
And you said this before we got into Nighthawk. We are coming up on, we are approaching the time where KaBuM are going to be strongest at the 1 item spikes. And crucially, their big engage in that fight, Crastiel came into the fight without a completed item, and look how it impacted them.
Yeah, I mean, they just can't quite kill AC, who's able to get the ult out. But look at this as well, KaBuM. They're so split on who they want to focus. Everyone kiting back to deal with Avenger and Chiari. I think if they just ran forward towards Juliera and AC, maybe there's a way in. But regardless, they split themselves up. They stop DPSing, and they get picked apart.
Chiari and Avenger, the unsung heroes of that fight, because they made sure that Raven couldn't play it at all. This is the goon squad of Chiari Avenger that we are going to see run at Lucian multiple times, likely every time that these teams come to a head.
Yeah, it's just so incredibly difficult for KaBuM. But look at AC, man. 7,500 gold. This guy is the truth. What an insane game. I mean, look, Dia, I know I'm a jungler. When I get a double kill and first grab, like, I'm sitting there, I'm feeling really good. And AC clearly felt good enough to snowball the hell out of this game.
Yeah, that is a very confident.
What you want to see. You know, when every game is jungle diff, right? Like, you know, every game is jungle diff. This is definitely the right side of jungle diff to be on for AC.
It is perfect timing. Like, and I don't know how many times I'm gonna point it out during the course of this match, but it's an AC that desperately needed this revitalization that really was clearly lacking a lot of self-confidence. Couldn't be happier to see it go off. You have a stopwatch going off the bot lane as Avenger and just try for a few extra seconds, but in a 2 versus 4, even AC's not that confident yet.
Yeah, you know, he doesn't go for the 1v4. I mean, hey, look, I would have watched that. I don't think it would have won. It would have been entertaining, but maybe making the smart play to back away.
If he had
right
Yuumi,
there.
he wins.
That's honestly though, like, there's an argument to be made that that is a true statement, which is terrifying. But unfortunately, did not have his pocket kitten in his hand right there. Was off, you know, supporting the 80 carry, something like a good support. That's so lame. Like, who? What, you pick Yuumi for your 80 carry? Like, come on, just go sit with your jungler, go skirmish. That's the real way to do it.
That's what you gotta do. Whenever I play Yuumi, I just see whoever's getting fed in the early game. That's my 80 carry now.
That's your 80 carry. You leave your marksman like, all right, good luck. I'm gonna go to the store and get milk and not come back. Okay.
I'm leading 2v1 down here, and what? Like,
right. We're winning every fight in the game. Like, oh, you're getting dove under tower? Sorry.
Yeah. If you guys want to see what it feels like to really be an 80 carry this game, watch how it feels when Kiari is all over Raven, or, you know, when Flawless is ulting Juliera. As guys, we're talking about 80 carry metas. When top laners decide it's time for the 80 carry meta to end, it ends.
True. Yeah, and you know, we were talking about all this like one threat, like Juliera has to be the guy nonsense. Like, honestly, AC's fed enough at this point. Just let KaBuM Nocturne all over the Felios. Go hop on the Viego and dive their backline. Like, it's fine. Juliera's just bait at this point, right?
Honestly, we joke. We may genuinely see a team fight like that. And it's not even that far off. Rift Herald's going to be channeled up towards the top side. And we got some confidence going down. It's a Nocturne ult straight on to Ace. And again, he disengages. The man is still alive. And the rest of Liberty get to walk forward completely unpressured. KaBuM are dumping everything into Viego and coming up empty-handed.
Well, maybe we press all of our buttons on whoever we want and we still can't kill them because KaBuM, they're just too far behind. A really nice AoE from Liberty to force them back, and it's going to be a tier 2 for their troubles.
That is just no sweat coming out of the Force of Liberty. It was a quick, easy disengage. Flash was burned on AZ. He's just gone back to base and picked up a black cleaver as we crest the 20-minute mark. Baron is available from this point on. Liberty are on sole point. They have a 5,000 gold lead, and the game is pretty darn far out of control. One might say irrecoverably far, unless KaBuM can pull together a miracle.
I mean, KaBuM, they just picked for early mid game, and as soon as that double kill went down, they had no access into this game whatsoever. The mistake in the river has cost them so dearly, and similarly to the INTZ Vivocade game that we saw earlier on, it's just once a team, maybe lacking in a bit of confidence, lacking a bit of direction, gets a lead, they so quickly realize that, like, it's just a confidence thing, I think, that they can trust each other and that they can play aggressively and confidently and walk forward and force fights the way that they should have been all along. And it's been such a great look from Liberty to do so, just bearing down on these waves, fogging into the river, and at some point, KaBuM, they are going to be forced to face check.
Last couple shots from this Gravitum on Juliera. We got red-white coming up soon, and that's going to be the time when Liberty pulled the trigger on one of these big objectives, whether it be the Soul or the Baron. We're going to have nothing to worry about. Another gun left to cycle through, but KaBuM, they are watching per shot that Aphelios lays out, their hopes of a team fight slip away.
KaBuM just has to one-shot somebody, and it has to be AC or Juliera. They don't have the same time-buying tools as the others, despite the Yuumi, and they do have flash on Crastiel. However, Liberty wants to make their life difficult.
Here comes the Nocturnal, defensive as it appears. You end up prioritizing Avenger, who is right next door. How long can this Gragas survive? Gets a beautiful pass to launch Flawless into the front line. And just like that, the Nocturne hits the floor. Raven is up next on the chopping block. A cleanse flash away keeps him alive, but the jungler is down, and that means Liberty can take whatever they want.
And wow, Avenger, that's the time buying we were talking about. That's why you can't be the engaged target. This Gragas too tanky to deal with the Zhonya's Hourglass, able to flash on away. Soul going over uncontested, Dia, and Liberty, what a statement from them. 0-2 start coming in against KaBuM at the bottom of the standings with them. And they're getting that confidence win that they so desperately needed.
Serious question, Hawk. I don't know if anybody from Liberty even dies from here on out. At this point, even if Flawless does jump into the backline, Flawless is doing it alone.
Yeah,
There's not backup coming through the front line of Liberty.
My only saving grace for KaBuM from that fight is they didn't really use that much. It was just Raven's summoners, which, while they are impactful, like, Crastiel does still have the flash up and available. So maybe, like, you can still flash on somebody, but the problem is through Mountain, so, like, I thought they were struggling for damage before. Well, now down 6,000, and with Mountain Soul Shield and the extra resistances on Liberty, like, I'm with you. That's a lot of HP to punch through.
Yeah, your work cut out for you, and unfortunately, Lucian's not going to get a whole lot better at it. Annie's not going to get a whole lot better at it. It's a matter of time, and time is unfortunately not on KaBuM's side. Baron's still available. Liberty in the commanding position of having a full Mountain Soul at their disposal. And they get to walk it lonely, take whatever they want, set up the situation in which they cannot physically lose this Baron. Take it, walk it in.
I feel like we've been seeing a lot of games like this, Dio, where the gold lead feels way bigger than it actually looks. Liberty up 5,500. They're just going to start the Baron, and while 5,500 is big, it's not as big as how dominant I think this game has been. And KaBuM, they're given one last chance. You've got to turn the game in your favor right here.
Crastiel is spotted on the flank. Watch Avenger over the wall. He jumps in, looks for Redbird, does not get the cast. Does drop the flash. Crastiel engages in the backside. Jumps onto Juliera, who is still alive, by the way, as Fury shoots through Flawless. There's no way you can access the backline. Avenger finally goes down, but it's traded for a big Infernum as Crastiel hits the floor. Juliera picks up another. The backline untouchable. Lonely from beyond the grave is still chasing down Juliera, but the rest of the team is gone. Lonely gonna go down finally, and KaBuM pick up the expected team fight win.
It was most certainly expected, but Liberty a bit touch and go at points. However, they're gonna get the Baron. Look at that, Juliera. We said he'd be the guy here. He is in the team fight. The late game of Felio scaling most certainly online. Baron in pocket. Liberty has everything they need to pick up their first win of the split.
Yeah, I want to look at this one more time because this was the closest team fight that KaBuM has had to date.
Honestly, KaBuM plays this very well. They stay very grouped up, and they dump all their abilities onto Juliera, who's forced to use basically everything defensively at the start of the fight. And KaBuM, look at how patient they are through the Yuumi ult, through all the disengage, just hitting front line, buying time. And at this point, it looks winnable, but watch Chiari in the front line, gets the knockback and the kill onto Crastiel, and then another one onto Raven. Ends the fight, rips out the heart and the carry of KaBuM and probably their hopes in this game.
And at that point, Chiari goes, you know what? I've done enough. I have already set this fight up for success. I'm gonna go on the chase. I'm gonna find Crastiel, and he looks amazing doing it. This is the top laner that has really stood out on Liberty, even through their first two struggle bus games of the season. And he manages to put up a big performance in this last team fight, alongside an already very powerful Liberty. Now gets to push alone in the bottom.
Chiari's not really been the focus of this game. It really has been about AC and the bottom lane, but I mean, just such a well-played team fight. Really impressive stuff. Like you said, a top laner that has overall, I think, performed pretty well, Dia, and he's helping Liberty just push on up, controlling the bottom lane, forcing a response. Mid inhibitor gonna drop completely for free. And at what point does KaBuM just decide to go? Because they're gonna bleed out if they don't.
Juliera also playing quite well through the last team fight. Now gets to play things from the back. This Aphelios unleashed. The late game Aphelios Dream is still alive. Tibbers goes wide on him, and Juliera with a big ultimate. Manages to connect only. the health bar of this Ion. Flash away, Gale forced forward, but no kill to be picked up. It is a one rated for nothing right now. A Liberty are still chewing through these towers. You are losing more than just this team fight. You may be losing the game. Avenger rocketing forward, but Flawless gets shot down. Fury, a monster in the top lane, who turns right around onto Lonely and beats into the ground. Fury will finally go down, but that is going to be the last thing that you really pick up, because Liberty are going to take this team. That's Piccolo's going to land onto the Nexus. We've already got the fun.
They're having
Liberty,
fun.
a very well-deserved win in their third game of the season.
Very well played by Liberty from start to finish. Look, I mean, we said we'd be watching Liberty play today. I thought maybe they'd be on the receiving end based on our expectations, but Dia, against KaBuM, Liberty stepped up. What a clean game. And again, it's these kind of wins for struggling teams, for teams that our expectations might be a bit lower for, that you'd have to think raise the confidence so significantly. And on the side of KaBuM, look, it was a confident draft, let's say, to go so early game, so mid-game focused, but they were not able to find a single damn play to go their way.
Well, we've seen now not necessarily an upset, but definitely an unexpected result. I'm going to let the match highlights play while we talk our way through this one. And folks at home, we have a duty of care to all of you watching, have a duty to remind you that in the CBLOL, nothing is ever as it seems. If we come into a match and tell you that a jungler has been struggling, believe none of it. Because apparently that's the secret sauce. That's what the CBLOL players need to then perform above and beyond. From this double kill from AC onwards, really, because he had honestly just a completely different game than we've seen from anything from week number one. Dear.
It was this double kill that unleashed him onto the map, in my opinion. As you said, we are still figuring out exactly where these teams are, and I think we will be until even playoff, where we get to see new faces of a lot of rosters, but getting the chance to see what AC could do with some kills. Once he knows, you know what, I am going to be really strong on this Viego, no matter what KaBuM do from this point, unlocked not just AC, but the rest of Liberty. That confidence that you talked about time and time again during the course of this game, Hawk, that was missing from Liberty was so clearly solved by knowing, you know what, our jungler's crushing it right now. We're going to trust him to stay alive, and we're going to do the rest.
And Dio, we talked in the pregame segment about how for KaBuM, we had questions about what their identity would be and how they would play together as a team and whether or not they could find that against Liberty. And I think the answer was a resounding no. And in fact, for me, maybe even raised more questions where now this is the second game this split where they've so clearly wanted to play around Raven and Redbird. But the bottom lane has just not been on the same page as Flawless and Crastiel in terms of their playmaking. And I think Flawless and Crastiel have had their heads in the right spot a lot of the time, but I need to see them linking up with the bottom lane, and regardless of who's, you know, quote-unquote fault it might be, the team needs to answer these questions sooner rather than later, because Liberty, they definitely exploited, because not only was it in the map play, it was in the team fights as well. They weren't all hitting the same targets. They weren't all going the same directions. And as we've already highlighted, the punish from Liberty was fantastic.
They absolutely were. And we're going to take a closer look at one of those plays a little bit earlier on into the game, just so that we can take a little bit of a deeper dive onto how they managed to find this lead. Dia, I want to pass it to you, because this was after that first blood and a little bit of pass between the two teams.
It was. I was actually very happy with KaBuM at this point in, because you can see how in isolation, KaBuM's bot lane, not bad at all. They know they're getting dove by 4 people. They're in a terrible situation, and they managed to find a kill out of it onto the enemy AD carry. It looks really good from my perspective, Rudid.
Now we have got a second play as well, and I think that, Hawk, you described this as the game, or the play that won Liberty the match. This was up on the top side around this Rift Herald. Talk me through it.
I mean, it just looks so good for KaBuM, right? They've gotten out of the Fed member. They're chasing after the carries, but look how split that fight got. Raven got assassinated on the side, and KaBuM all of a sudden was fraying at the seams after they weren't able to find the one shot. And it was at that moment when the mid-game composition can't find the one shot to get them back into the game. And not only that, Liberty runs over the fight and gets a bunch of objectives off of it. It just feels so unwinnable from that point, regardless of what KaBuM's able to do. They're always going to be one step behind in the game from this point. And so, I mean, Liberty, the execution here definitely put the ball firmly in their possession.
Okay, perfect. We have got an interview now. We're going to be joined by Skichi, one of our Portuguese comrades, and as well, he's going to be joined by Was. Welcome, folks, to the CBLOL English stream. I have one question, and then I'm going to pass it over to you, Skichi, to take the rest. Was, I know that you have obviously had a great day today, but there's deeper rules that we need to look at, some more important information we need, because rumor has it that one of your parents is a Zyra one-trick in gold. Now, how has that grind been going?
Hi guys, I'll be talking to Was here. E Was, eles perguntaram que eles querem saber um segredo seu. Que dos seus pais é uma one-trick de Zyra no ouro. Yeah. Como é que tá o grind?
Inclusive eu tenho a tatuagem da Zyra, né? A minha mãe, ela começou a jogar LoL depois de uns 2 anos que eu tava no competitivo já. Ela começou a jogar e ela virou mono Zyra. Eu acho que foi porque na final de 2016 foi o único campeão em que eu ganhei uma partida. A gente perdeu de 3-1 e eu ganhei de Zyra, então eu acho que ela se inspirou e quis jogar de Zyra. E hoje ela tem mais de 1,5 milhão de maestria, eu acho. Então ela joga muito mesmo, é true mono.
1,5 milhão?
1,5 milhão de maestria.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he said that 2 years after he started playing competitive, his mother started playing as a Zyra, became a Zyra one-trick after the 2016 finals that he won. One of the games of the final he lost, 1-3, but the game that he won was with Zyra. And after that she started playing and she's already at 1.5 million mastery points with Zyra at this point, but she's still there grinding every day. So now I'm going to ask you, how was for you coming back to the CBLOL, coming back after one split off, playing on the tier 3, how was this experience for you? So, depois, cara, você voltou pro CBLOL agora.
Eu não entendi o final só.
E como que depois desse tempo fora, ficar um split aí no Tier 3, como foi essa experiência e agora voltar pro CBLOL também?
Ok. Basicamente minha carreira é muito longa, então quando eu fiquei sem jogar, realmente passa muita coisa na sua cabeça. Às vezes você pensa, já tá na hora de eu aposentar ou não, até porque a carreira de LoL, o pessoal ainda tá se encontrando, então quando você tá beirando mais de 25, já começa a ter essa dúvida sobre aposentar ou não, então eu realmente pensava que talvez eu não teria mais chance ou eu não tinha nível, então passava muito isso na minha cabeça. E quando eu estava jogando no Tier 3, muitas vezes a gente treinava com o time de CBLOL e eu ainda treinava bem. E então toda a off-season, essa última off-season eu tryhardei muito na solo queue, peguei top 10 e com isso surgiu a oportunidade de voltar. E realmente eu tô muito animado, eu gosto muito de jogar competitivo, tipo, a torcida é demais, então é isso.
And he said that after being tier 3 for a while, he asked himself if he should retire as well. Being a player over 25 years old, you ask yourself things like that. So while he was playing there, he screamed against CBLOL teams and he screamed well. He was playing well. He grinded solo kill, got top 10 solo kill, and he got a spot. He got a chance to play again, and he's very excited to prove to everyone that he can still do it. He can still play at the top level. And now asking for today's game and Liberty for the start. He didn't start very well on the first week, but now getting the first win and looking forward to the rest of the split. How is he feeling for the team? How the team can evolve for the rest of the split as well. Então, cara, vocês começaram uma semana primeira um pouco difícil, né? 0-2, mas agora conseguiram a sua primeira vitória. Como você tá vendo a Liberty hoje e como que você vê a evolução desse time pro resto do split?
Certo. Na nossa primeira semana, basicamente, hoje eu acho que a gente acertou o que a gente errou, porque no jogo contra a NTZ a gente estava com muita vantagem, pronto para ganhar, e a gente afobou muito e começou a forçar umas situações em que não era favorável para nós, então Com isso, a gente conversou muito sobre isso, que era pra gente fazer um jogo mais correto, mais calmo. Então, hoje a gente fez isso, mesmo com bastante vantagem, a gente não acelerou o jogo, não se afobou e conseguimos ganhar as fights sem se afobar e coisas assim. Então, eu vejo que a gente tá evoluindo nisso, então ainda tem muita coisa pra gente melhorar, principalmente porque contra o jogo contra Los Grandes, quando a gente saiu atrás, a gente simplesmente não conseguiu jogar, a gente... eles dominaram todas as situações e então é isso. Eu acho que a gente ainda tem muito a melhorar, mas estamos atrás.
He said that after the first week, he had a good first game. They were winning. They had the chance to win, but they had to calm down a little bit. So they worked on that this week. They calmed down for this game as well. They had the advantage and they played the game how it should be and got their first win. And against Los Grandes last week, they didn't have the best game. So they're still working on things to improve. They think they have a lot to improve, but they're on the right track at this moment. So guys, thank you very much, Was. Muito obrigado.
Obrigado.
Thank you very much as well for him. And guys, back to you.
Thank you so much, Skichi and Was. Guys, we're going to have to rapid fire through these. We're going to show quickly the match statistics from that game. Dia, I want you to have a look and tell me anything that stands out.
Honestly, a lot of this is as expected. The biggest surprise to me is how little damage AC did when looking at Juliera right next to him. And obviously, AD carries are looking good, but Juliera, I think, had a pretty standout performance based on these numbers as well.
Can't complain about that. I mean, AC certainly not doing badly in his placement on the map. We'll see the MVP to see who it was that came away with it. Surprise, surprise, it's our third jungler of the day. They've had a really good show so far. Hawk, is this worthy?
I am officially taking bids on which team between Fluxu and Furia wants me to criticize their jungler before Game 5 so they can have a player of the game worthy performance. Because, yeah, AC played a great early game, and even though the damage wasn't as high as, say, Juliera, he was the mid-game bridge, right? He got his team to the point that they needed to get to where their superior team fighting was able to be on full display.
Alrighty, thank you so much, guys. We will see you back for game number 5, but we are going to take a quick break before game number 4. Pain Gaming versus Los Grandes. Don't go anywhere, folks at home. This is a short break, and we'll be right back.